It's certainly my pleasure to be here today to talk to you about interdisciplinary doctoral programs. I'll talk about two, one that we started in 2011 and then one that we started in August of 2017. As we brought this idea to our faculty, I don't know about yours, but there are always some skeptics about whether or not a new idea will work. We heard things such as there's no interest in interdisciplinary PhD programs in energy sciences and engineering. There's no jobs for students once they graduate. You're going to take students from disciplinary programs and move them to interdisciplinary programs, so why do that? You can't take a deep dive in research if you're in an interdisciplinary program. We expect all of our students to be exposed to policy and entrepreneurship. And there were skeptics about whether or not students with PhD programs can really deal with their discipline as well as policy and as well as entrepreneurship. It's going to fail was another description of the interdisciplinary program. And since we got $6.2 million of non-recurring money, that means it's venture capital, why don't you give that to us and let us spend it on something else and put this idea aside? And so today what I want to do is try to explain to you what we've done with an interdisciplinary program in energy sciences and engineering that started in 2011, and a new program in data sciences and engineering that will begin in August of 2017. So the first thing we'll look at is what is interdisciplinary research, because research is such an important part of a PhD program. And what interdisciplinary research does is it integrates information, data, techniques, tools, concepts, theories from more than one discipline, two or more disciplines. And it's used to advance fundamental understandings to solve problems beyond the scope of a single discipline. And many scientific problems that come to us today in today's world requires an understanding of diverse disciplines to solve them. And so an interdisciplinary program is one of the ways to attack that. And the big topics, the big problems that affect society in profound ways are usually interdisciplinary in nature. And so in this context, we put together an interdisciplinary PhD program. And as we looked at this interdisciplinary PhD program, a lot of educational leaders have advocated interdisciplinary rather than disciplinary approaches to solving problems in the 21st century. Our problems are very complex. They're becoming more and more complex every year and every decade. Federal funding agencies in the United States submit RFPs, and they're framed more from an interdisciplinary perspective in many cases that require more than one discipline to apply for those grants, like NIH or NSF. We should focus more of our interdisciplinary programs at the graduate level. Certainly we've had some at the undergraduate level for many years. And that interdisciplinary programs are based on strong disciplinary programs, so it doesn't do away with disciplines. It's just another way to approach the education of PhD students. So it's not an either and, it's interdisciplinary program and disciplinary programs are both very important. And so as we looked at developing the new interdisciplinary program between the University of Tennessee Knoxville and Oak Ridge National Laboratory, they're about 22 miles apart from one another. What we were doing was combining the assets of a major research university in the United States with a major national laboratory. To give you the scale of the national laboratory, it's the largest science and engineering laboratory in the world. It has an operating budget of about $1.2 billion annually. It has resources such as a spallation neutron source, high-speed computing, a vast, about 1,200 PhDs work there. So you're combining the asset of a major university with a national laboratory. We picked areas that we felt like had the most possibility for interdisciplinary programs. Those two areas were energy sciences and engineering, which started in 2011, and data science and engineering, which will start in 2017. Another thing about this program that I mentioned is as we designed it and as the faculty came together to design it, entrepreneurship became one of the areas that we decided we would build into this interdisciplinary program, as well as policy. And so each student is required to take our courses in entrepreneurship or in policy in addition to the math and the science and the engineering that they take in their PhD program. And what we're trying to do is educate a group of students for the real world of interdisciplinary R&D, of entrepreneurship, of policy, of job creation, and technology breakthroughs, and using the PhD, interdisciplinary PhD, to do that. I'll tell you a little bit about the University of Tennessee Knoxville. It's a flagship campus of the University of Tennessee system and of the state of Tennessee. We have 11 colleges that range from arts and sciences and architecture to business to engineering to law. We have approximately 22,000 undergraduate students and 6,000 graduate students, and we enjoy a very close working relationship with Oak Ridge National Laboratory. We have, for many decades, collaborative work between our faculty and the scientists at Oak Ridge and our students. Oak Ridge provides some access to unique research facilities. I mentioned the spallation neutron source. At one time, they had a very large radiation biology program, large computers, a biological program, a neutron science program. So a lot of capacity there that's used not only by our university, but other universities in the country and actually in the world. And Oak Ridge researchers have been involved in departments from time to time on our campus. I've been at Tennessee for about 8.5 years. When I came, there were about 30 joint faculty. We now have a joint faculty of 225. So faculty on our side that are working at Oak Ridge, faculty on their side that are working at the University of Tennessee Knoxville. We have joint institutes as well. Material sciences is one of those, neutron science is one of those, biological sciences is others. That gives us the opportunity to work in a joint institute as well as an interdisciplinary PhD program. And the University of Tennessee system and Battelle manages Oak Ridge National Laboratory, so that facilitates the relationships that we have with Oak Ridge. And this joint PhD was started that we're talking about in 2011 and the new one 17. If we look at this interdisciplinary PhD program in energy sciences and engineering, it features one characteristic is we had to decide where it would be located. There were colleges that wanted to locate it, departments wanted to have it located, others wanted to locate other places. We decided to create a center that's external to a college, and this center has the same type of opportunities to appoint faculty as a college does, but it has no faculty of its own. So all the faculty have to reside outside the Bredesen Center, but they come in. We named it after the governor that helped us found this, and I'll tell you a little bit about him in a minute. So this is housed in an interdisciplinary center. It focuses on all types of energy issues, as you can see here. Climate change is part of it. Transportation sciences is a part of it. Nuclear energy, bioenergy, energy conservation and storage, renewable energy, grid management, all those types of things fit into this large interdisciplinary PhD program. The curriculum includes, like I've said, entrepreneurship, and I'll show you some success of that, and also policy components. And students are admitted as a cohort. They come together in the fall. That's the only time we admit students. The first class of this program had 23 PhDs in the first class. It's named for our former governor, Phil Bredesen. Bredesen was governor from 2003 to 2011. He was very instrumental. He was interested in science. He's a New Yorker. He got a bachelor's degree in physics from Harvard, came to Tennessee and got into healthcare business, but he wanted to capitalize on having a major federal asset of $1.2 billion, a major land-grant university with a budget of about $1.3 billion, and form that partnership stronger. And so there's several things that he did. He funded a governor's chair program that has about 17 faculty involved in it, a biofuels initiative, a solar initiative, Joint Institute of Biological Science and Neutron Science. And he also funded with $6.2 million of non-recurring money this new idea of this energy science and engineering program. The only thing named for Bredesen in the state of Tennessee or anyplace else is this Bredesen Center. He was very resistant to have anything named after him. We finally convinced him to come and meet our first class of students. After he met them, he said, "I'd be happy to have this named after me." And we gave him an honorary degree in 2017 for all he had done for us. We tried to recruit the best and the brightest. We used a national network to try to include an international network to encourage applicants. We have a very strong cohort each year that comes into the program. Our first class was admitted in 2011. We currently have 123 PhD students in this one program itself. Our pipeline is beginning to produce graduates. We have now produced 19 PhDs in that program. I'm pleased to report that every single one of them have a job. So there are jobs. Some of our skeptics said they can't get jobs when they graduate. They do get jobs. And we had 9 students in regular traditional PhD programs that chose to get a concentration in energy science and engineering. We have actually, oops, that didn't come up the way it's supposed to. We have 5 students. Let me back up. This didn't come up like it's supposed to. There's supposed to be 5 females standing there. We have 5 female students in this PhD program that are studying fusion energy. When they graduate, we will dramatically change the dynamic in fusion energy researchers because almost all are male today, so we're very proud of that. And they're working with ITER, which is an international consortium. The European Union, the United States, and some other countries are working on that. Those are the countries. Unfortunately, the visual, for some reason, is not coming up on these slides, the picture of them. So we've also worked hard to develop entrepreneurs. We have 6 of our students, and unfortunately their picture is not showing up, that have formed 3 startup companies. One is Nano Element Sources, one's Bioplastics, and one is a SimPath, which deals with DNA synthesis. And those students have startup companies that they have started. There's 2 each that lead those companies. They've done this on their own. They have competed for resources at the University, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, the state, and the nation to help them with their startup companies. But the idea of graduate students getting involved with startup companies during their PhD program is precisely what we wanted to do. And so we've been able to accomplish that as well. Hopefully, some of these will be successful. My entrepreneur friends said, no, they need to fail 1 or 2 times and then they'll be successful, but they got to start. So they have at least started. The new program is data science and engineering. It's based on the energy science and engineering PhD program and its success. We created a task force to look at what we should do next. Data sciences seemed like the most logical thing. Fred Smith is the founder of FedEx. I had the opportunity to talk to him about this program at the university several months ago. He said this is an ideal program. FedEx would be very happy to hire any graduate you produce from this program as soon as they have their PhDs. So there's a great deal of interest in industry about this program as well. Governor Haslam, our current governor, funded one time this year $6 million of non-recurring money to start this program. We have approximately 15 students enrolled for fall of 2017, and the program was officially approved 2 months ago by the Tennessee Higher Education Coordinating Board. So we got way ahead of them as far as approval. We anticipated approval, anticipated the governor, and we've got about 15 students enrolled in the program for the fall of 17. Data sciences is a very interesting kind of area. It's trying to take knowledge from large data sets and try to get generalizable knowledge that's extracted from that data. It ranges all across the area from health, biological sciences, environmental sciences, material sciences, transportation, advanced manufacturing, urban system sciences, national security. So all those areas are part of this interdisciplinary program in data sciences. There's a national need. There's also expanded research in this particular area. A lot of us have colleges of business that have data analytics and so forth. As a matter of fact, the person who's going to run this program actually comes out of the Haslam College of Business, and his background is data analytics. We will operate this in parallel. It will also be in the Bredesen Center. It will leverage the supercomputing capacity and big data expertise at ORNL. The Oak Ridge National Laboratory has a contract with IBM to deploy the fastest computer in the world in 2 years from now. Currently, it would be twice as fast as any computer that operates today. Obviously, as 2 years pass, that's going to change. So hopefully they can continue that, but the fastest computer in the world. The doctoral degree will be conferred by the University of Tennessee Knoxville at the beginning, but we have partnerships with 2 other campuses, the University of Tennessee Health Sciences Center at Memphis and University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and their chancellor is here with us today, Steve Angle, and faculty from those 2 parts of the organization have participated in putting this together, and we'll have PhD students in this program. Once they get up and running with that program, they have the opportunity to form a separate interdisciplinary program on their own campus. The core curriculum includes, as you would think, a lot of math, statistics, data analysis, computing and coding skills, storage, retrieval, data mining, machine learning, implementation of software tools, modeling and simulation from applied mathematics, and also cybersecurity. Again, this program will have a policy dimension and an entrepreneur dimension in it. We think that's very important. The students will take a deep dive into research in their stated disciplines, and they'll have faculty members advising them from colleges and also Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And there'll be interdisciplinary seminar for all the students, and they'll also be admitted as a cohort. And they work together in that cohort. We found that very important in the interdisciplinary program. The faculty will be drawn from the 3 campuses, as I mentioned, plus researchers at Oak Ridge. If you look at the Energy Science and Engineering program, we started with 80 applicants for our faculty to go to the Bredesen Center. We selected 18 of those at the very beginning. We now have 144 faculty in the Bredesen Center for Energy Science and Engineering. Right now, we probably have about 15 in data sciences, but over time, we expect that to go like the Energy Science program. We also have a program that's called the Governor's Chair Program, and in this Governor's Chair Program, we're able to attract international scholars. They're paid half-time at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, half-time at the University of Tennessee Knoxville, and 8 of those faculty are participating in this Energy Science program. We think that same thing will happen with the Data Science and Engineering program. And as they move into the Bredesen Center, we expect them to engage in the center, work on committees, be available for seminars, interact with students, and also chair, mentor, and support graduate students. Recruitment's going to be in tandem with the ESE program. We basically, on the ESE program, get about 150 applicants a year. We interview about 40 of those on our campus. They spend one day on our campus, one day at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, then they spend one day working with mentors. Then we made a decision of how many fellowships to offer. Usually we interview 40, offer about somewhere between 25 and 30, and usually get 20 to 25 of those students to accept our offers. We anticipate 10 to 20 new graduate students each year in a cohort. By year 7, we anticipate 120 graduate students and generating approximately 15 PhDs per year by year 7. It helps us immensely to implement our strategic plan, which calls for growth at the PhD level, growth in PhD production. And Oak Ridge National Laboratory, while they're not an educational institution, have a tremendous asset with all these PhDs. And one of the things that the Secretary of Energy has complimented Oak Ridge National Laboratory on is their important role in this program by preparing the next generation of scientists at laboratories such as Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and also for business and industry. And they also applaud us for thinking about entrepreneurship and also policy. And it also offers a high potential impact for Tennessee. If we can get a few of those startup companies to be successful and stay in Tennessee or move elsewhere, that will certainly be important to our economy in the state, in the nation, and also in the world. And the job sector for this particular area is growing immensely. In the programs we have at both the bachelor's, master's, and PhD level in data analytics, we find there's just an almost unmeetable demand for that area. So we think there's going to be a real strong interest. I was going to show you this picture here, but unfortunately it's not coming up. The governor, the former governor, Bredesen, comes every year to meet with the students in the freshman class, first-year PhD students. And those first-year PhD students go through a 2-semester course on energy, taught by Lee Riedinger, who's the co-author of this paper. He's a professor of physics, been at the University and Oak Ridge National Laboratory for about 40 years, does a superb job. But at the end of that class, he asks the students to come up with dealing with a policy issue that they think's important. And then he has them research that, and they divide into groups. And then Governor Bredesen comes on a campus, and he serves, quote, as President of the United States. The director of the lab prior to this month, Tom Mason, serves as a Vice President of the United States. And this year, one of the associate lab directors served as Secretary of Energy. And then they hear the student's 7-minute presentation. And then they quiz the students on the feasibility of the policy that they're advocating. And so it's an opportunity for these students to interact with the former governor of the state, 2 very important people that know energy and energy policy. And it gives them the opportunity to see some of the dynamics and actually stimulates a lot of interest. We have 2 of our PhD students that have completed their degrees that work in Washington, D.C., and both of them work in the policy area. So that's really exciting for us. That's the innovation that I think has made a significant difference at the University of Tennessee. It's certainly made a significant difference for Oak Ridge National Laboratory as well, but more importantly, the students that have come to participate in that program. And I'd be happy to entertain any comments or questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there new faculty skeptics and new skeptical arguments given all you've achieved?
Actually, no. We had 1 or 2 particular ones on the Faculty Senate that just felt this was, and Lee Riedinger did a superb job in moving that through the Faculty Senate. But I think people have seen this program as one that, first of all, has not detracted from any major we have on the campus, has attracted actually the best cohort of graduate students that we have on the campus. If you look at GRE scores and GPAs of a total cohort of students in a graduate program. And actually it has attracted some students to disciplinary programs. They come on campus, they think they're interested in an interdisciplinary program, they meet somebody in one of the areas in engineering or science, and they say, I'd rather work with this person here. So we've actually recruited some students there. And if you interact with these students, I think you can say they really represent us well and really provide a model for thinking about departmental majors and how we interact with graduate students more as a cohort and more the expectation to expand versus simply get them narrow and narrow and narrow, let them understand the importance of larger issues in the society. So I don't think so, but I'm sure there's at least one.
My name is Joe Isaac from the AME University in Liberia. Thanks for the presentation. I'm wondering how do you decide to marry these programs, and also how do you run them? Do you establish a new department, or do you run them simultaneously from the various departments?
We do not establish a new department. That's one of the first things that faculty think about is organizational structure and new departments and things can't operate. We have this center with a director, and he's 3/4 time in that as center director. He teaches those 2 introductory courses in energy and teaches also in the physics department. We've tried to keep the administrative structure very small. We do have a recruiter that goes out to universities and to countries to recruit students. We have been very successful in getting the word out about this program throughout the country. The first student that came to us came from Caltech. The first student that refused our offer and went someplace else went to the University of California, Berkeley. So we decided we were playing in pretty good territory there. We're also working hard to recruit international students, but what we try to do is make it non-competitive with departments. And one of the things that we have done is, this is true in engineering in particular, in their accreditation system, they have to award the degree. So what we've done is we've said, okay, the interdisciplinary program, and if this student is advised by a faculty member in engineering, that student actually graduates with this interdisciplinary program through the College of Engineering. And so we tried to make sure that deans and faculty get credit for what they're doing, but try to keep the infrastructure very, very thin. And I think that's been a real success of the program.
I'm Eurico Ngunga from Agostinho University in Angola. And thank you very much for this useful presentation. And I have been working with some institutions in Angola, and one of the main is working with government, okay, the Angolan government, in order to put together, to connect some companies coming to Angola and in order to receive the new students from universities. So my question is, how did you manage this project with governments? Okay, when you say that the governor provided $6 million to this project, so we have had these problems in Angola, so that sometimes they don't understand that they have to, invest, this huge money to such a project. So, and I would like to hear from you, and in which way we could, work in my landscape, okay, in my situation in Angola. Thank you.
Well, in Governor Bredesen's case, he decided in his last year as governor to transform higher education and pass the Complete College Tennessee Act. He is a Democrat in a Republican-controlled House and Senate. He was a very effective politician, and he changed the way we were funded as far as the formula. At one time we were funded by number of people in seats on the 14th day of class. Now we're funded with outputs, number of graduates, retention rate, graduation rate, those types of things. And the way we were able to convince him of this program was that the director of the laboratory and I talked to him about the idea we had, and we proposed it as non-recurring money, which is easier than recurring money. We said if we can get it started, we can keep it going by grants and contracts, and we've been able to do that. We're completely out of that $6.2 million that was first allocated, and we're completely operating now basically on tuition. And so we showed him a model that would work with only one-time investment. But I think it's more and more difficult for all of us to communicate with our governments, our governors, our legislatures, and others in federal governments, the importance of higher education and the importance of investing in higher education. And fortunately, we were able to convince him to do this, and the partnership between Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the university was one of the things that helped sell this. Because he said, if you two, as the two leaders of these two organizations, believe this will work, I think it's worth trying. And with the current governor, we did the same thing. We said, this has been successful. Will you do this again with this new program? And he was amenable to it. But it's much more difficult. There's certainly some other areas we've not been successful in getting money for, but in this particular two cases, we've been successful. Thank you for the question.